Hi, this is the Social Distance Reading Series, a project of the Vermont School and Green Mountains Review. I am Lesley Wheeler, author of a book called The State She's In, published just this March by Tinderbox Editions. Thank you for joining me in Lexington, Virginia, in my messy home office. This is my fifth book of poetry. I'm poetry editor as well of Shenandoah. Recent poems and essays have appeared in Ecotone, The Common, and Massachusetts Review. I also have a novel called Unbecoming that was scheduled for publication this May, but the launch date is up in the air right now. I'm going to read you a few poems from my book. The first one is called The South. Once you knew where you were going, from winter's unambiguous branches through flushing eastern redbud toward the shabby linens of the South bleaching on dogwood racks, toward manly honor and chaste womanhood, dusted with gunpowder, shaded from heat by genocidal legacies. Not so fast, youth I was, not so neat. Sure, the glass of tea will sweat where tongues grow cool and slow as minted bourbon. Sure, some white shoppers won't stand in the black cashier's line, allow his wrist's revolution to float their collards or mayonnaise jars over a scanner's bloodshot eye. The hate you'll recognize, thinking you can stand to one side, an innocent cartographer. But malice won't sit where you mapped it, emitting a predictable growl. Stop knowing everything and look around. Hear above your banging pulse an implicated tune, weathered in blue, voice of land pushed up sore, its grudges cold. Those notes twist down piney slopes, fume into creeks by whose banks the copperheads sun like slippery hieroglyphs. They scrawl a tale that had been camouflaged from you, even as you sang your lines. Now the story holds you in its lap. Now it's poised to strike. So as you might be able to hear in my voice, I grew up in New York and New Jersey and moved down to Lexington, Virginia to take a job in 1994. Spent a long time denying that I lived here and have been trying to come to terms with it more recently. And this book reflects that. There's a lot of historical and archival research in the poems. This one is more botanical and it's called Black Walnut Tree. It connects for me to the misogynist and the racist violence, which are pretty deep parts of US history and certainly Virginia history as well. Black Walnut Tree. How do you persist knowing your shadow is poisonous? How do you bear the thirst driving your taproot through silty clay toward creek or sewer, seeking more and more water? The same power helping you grow strong and straight, heartwood densely grained, leaflets velvet, serrate. It pushes others away. You deep-grooved volunteer, magnificent citizen sickening my yard. I need to learn how to endure my own bitterness. Tell me your tough-shelled fruit, and I will tell you mine as I render the earth unkind. Chemistry of hunger, ambition, bound to harm whether or not we rue it. There is more than one poem in this book that refers back to the 2016 election. This one was written that September. It's a sonnet and it's called Inside Out. Shouldn't talk with a mouthful of half-chewed flags, but he smirks and suggests her Secret Service guys disarm and see what happens. The crowd turns wild and you can spot a star wedged in his molar. Scraps of stripe dangle from a lip. Maybe, he cracks, the Second Amendment people will get wise. While, Russians hacker to bites. Silk between his teeth. Democracy, facts. Bleeding on the street's not too good for her, thinks 40+% of my broken country. The liar calls her liar, and the smear sticks. After all, horror's ordinary. The 13-year-old boy just killed for holding a BB gun. And an open-mouthed woman, well, blood's her career. This one's called Native Temper, and it's about the tree that is planted right outside my office window, but that I'm not going to point out to you because the sun is setting there. It's called Native Temper. Oh, and I should thank Cherry Tree magazine for publishing this one. The last one appeared in Cimarron. This was in Cherry Tree's Throwing Shade section, which is a feature of the magazine I particularly like. Some call the maple a trash tree, the landscaper said, kicking what remained of a ground-down stump. Sawdust bleached the laurels, already near dead of drought and neglect. But they grow fast enough you'd see the prime of it, and autumns they just blaze. Between shovel pokes at fibrous roots, he weighed up the relative assets of laid-back hickories and other slow locals. Maybe a pin oak, or, well, he'll leave us to consider a few more days. The last lost maple was broken by the gale of my father's death. All that mystery laid bare. Studied on the wound a while until 3 May leaf counts passed, anyone could see it was tired of fighting. Guys came with a crane and piteous saws. I grieve that missing tree more than my old man. Some folks will choose a kind only their children can know the whole grandness of, mused the good citizen. Yet I have a stump to grind with the South, an invasive species at heart. My kids should leave. Plant something flashy, I said. I would rather die than die in these parts. New Year colonoscopy. The procedure went swiftly, dark falling early, whirling into the back of my hand like snow in gigantic ornamental flakes, first one melting against blood's heat, then others sticking cold, ganging up against my will to worry, a blanket of anesthetic hush. Then, although I could not feel it and do not remember, a sexist Republican doctor pried a scope through my back door, probing for regret, dangerous thoughts, the kind that over time grow bulbous, serrate. But he found nothing, no secrets, no intention to accrue them, for I boiled the bones and drank the steam, sipped pink potions hours on end, emptied myself of last year's toxic shit, and am clean. This is the last poem in the book. It's called L. I used some weird constraints to write it. I was thinking about turning 50 and the year of my birth in 1967. So there are a lot of references to that. Also the various meanings of the capital letter L. And I also used 50 character lines, which you can't see unless you set the poem in a monospace font. 1967 was on fire. Apollo 1 waiting to launch. Jim Morrison on Ed Sullivan stoking it higher. Mekong Delta, Newark riot hurling out sparks. Summer of Osaka to me, Saka to me, Saka to me, Sock. Pulsar first glimpsed, black hole first named. Far south, Deception Island's volcano in flames. While an infancy rages. Some recently extinguished soul slotted in my pigeonhole, Oppenheimer, Coltrane, Magritte. But I'm no reincarnate star, not even a meteor tail, tokeless. Just a minor cloud of space dust reborn to squall anew. 4 decades and change accrue, and a big birthday looms. Half and half, Golden Jubilee, 5-0, code for pigs closing in, and also atomic number of 10. Mystery heat rises to scald. What is it I'm reaching for over this terrible wall? a relocation, destination, permission for ignition because beauty burns low, potential guttered long ago. I don't know. So I avoid mirrors except the page and work, burn the fuel of myself in words, program words to change this space and time. Recall Cobain and Philip Seymour Hoffman dissolved to smoke. Does it even matter how, in that year of our newborn howl, Lou Reed crooned heroin into the cradles? Oh, it was a Warhol year, surreal, bananas. From my room, painted like late in the daylily, I can gaze across a blank tin roof, pocked by finch claws, past snow-packed sockets of a desolate maple, toward the lavender brow of House Mountain, that for this poem let's personify as ambition. The blaze considered discourteous to mention, especially by women. Well, shouldn't I be striving? Talk to me, Mountain. And Mountain, with a higher perspective than mine, cries, you are a conflagration. Adrenaline singes your capillaries. Let the anniversary of your ardor to be born cool you like a shadow. Desire leads only to more desire, even were your sororal motives pure, and they are not. Mountain has spoken. It meant cease building with borrowed stones unless to lift somebody else. Message over bottle. Oh, and hey, says Mountain, one more thing. All poems may be ash, but some shelter small, hot hopes, their seed swaddled in earth's velvet. What strikes me now like flint on tinder is how talking to mountains or to you is the same as talking to myself, just as impossible and just as hopeful, either or, both, and. Maybe we're all alpine and none of us is. Disconnection a gift of language we are supposed to hand back. No presents, please. What's yours is mine already. But come in and have a drink on me. Today's everybody's birthday, and I've stopped counting. Well, just about. I'm going to close with my favorite poem from this book to read out loud. It's got a participatory element. It's got 3 blanks in it. And what I would like you to do is think, or even say aloud as you're listening, during the first 2 blanks, I want you to think about somebody you'd like to get rid of, somebody you'd really like to banish from the earth. And then for the last blank, think about something delicious. All-purpose spell for banishment. A pox on blank and the gerrymander he rode in on. Expel, export, exile him while we smudge sage smoke around. At the 0 hour, as our wombs contract under the moon, cast him out, groper, loomer, cheater, rapist, harassing mogul, bully, frilled narcissus of a boss. Evict without visa, dissolve his assets and social media accounts. Let there be no comb-over strays stranded on sofa backs, no despotic perfume. Erase his name even from rumor, from amygdala. Remove all dimples left in moss by cloven loafer. There is no blank. There never was. As the last syllable of this incantation sounds, it breaks over us, how light we feel, like lemon mousse in a silver dish on an early spring morning before the leaves grow in, each cell of foam trapping nothing but sugar and sunshine. On our tongues, only blank. So I want to close by saying that once again, the book is The State She's In. It's just out from Tinderbox Editions. It's not widely distributed yet because the warehouse the box was sent to is in a state that's under lockdown, but you can buy it from my saintly publisher, Molly Sutton Kiefer, and all you have to do is go to the Tinderbox Editions website and their online store. I want to close also by thanking the hosts of the Social Distance Reading Series, which is a really wonderful and generous thing to do in this very strange moment. And I also want to recommend another book from Tinderbox Editions, trying to help you see it. It's by Caroline Cabrera, and it's called Black Begins as a Tiny Rumble. If you like the state she's in, I think you'd like this one too. It's a really fiery feminist collection about turning loss into something more beautiful. And it's a mixture of, it's prose poems, so it's sort of halfway between poems and lyric essays. And maybe I should also say in closing that if you want to check out my website, lesleywheeler.org, I'm trying to do my little part for poetry promotion, and I'm hosting little baby interviews with poets whose new books have become stranded in this catastrophic moment. So I'd love to hear from you if you're one of those writers. Thanks very much. I really appreciate this opportunity to read to you all.